Well, this is what's left of Legend Sports Bar and Grill here behind me. Take a look, and it's basically just a big pile of rubble and debris. There's a creek that runs through this area here. Take a look at it, and you can see just how high the water is. Not very much further, and it's going to be pouring over this sidewalk here. And in fact, just standing here, you can hear the water rushing by. You've never had the thrill of cheering on the Pack from the stands. Well, you can do that here in this exhibit. A captain with the Shawano County Sheriff's Office told me that they found Diane Pickett's body yesterday afternoon near the debris and the home, which is just behind me here along this driveway. To give you some perspective, I'm about 5'7", and I can just touch the top of it on my tiptoes. Take a look at this sidewalk here along Velp Avenue, and you can see just how icy it is. You can see how easily my feet move back and forth apart. Now, it's not, glare ice, but definitely slippery. We are at 4th Street and Park Avenue, and this is as far as we are able to go right now. So we can actually see the high school from where we are, but you can see behind me some police officers who have this road blocked here. You can see the roadblocks and these police officers standing here with assault rifles. We do know that there is a very heavy police presence. Good morning. Yeah, some of the people here in New Holstein have quite a mess on their hands to clean up this morning, like the people who live in this house here. Take a look at this tree that was uprooted right out of the ground. Well, right now there's a cashier in a booth like this one until about 6 o'clock in the evening, but after 6, the cashier leaves and the gates go up. Well, we are finally learning some answers and just heard from police a short time ago that what happened earlier this morning that triggered this huge police response that you can actually see here behind me where there is a staging area is that earlier this morning a staff member inside of Kiel High School thought that they heard gunshots coming near the south side of the building. Passengers finally get their luggage early this morning after hours of waiting.
A very, very long travel, and we just want to be home.
It was a nightmarish trip for these passengers trying to get to Minneapolis after their plane slid off the runway.
It was a pretty scary experience, I'd say, but they turned the lights on and just made sure everyone was okay after.
I don't know what we're going to slide into, not being familiar with the area or anything.
The United Flight 878 took off in Houston, Texas. It made one attempt to land at the Minneapolis airport.
They said it was too icy that they couldn't land us there.
So they ended up in Madison before trying again to land in Minneapolis, but the same thing happened, so the flight was diverted to Green Bay.
We were slowing down, but then you could feel kind of the brakes not have any more traction.
The airport's director says that the FAA is investigating what exactly caused this 737 to slide off the runway, landing in this field here. We do know obviously that it was icy. The director of the airport says that crews were treating the runways overnight.
We can't use salt on runways because it's corrosive, and so we use mostly sand to provide grit, and there are some other chemicals that we can use that are approved by the Federal Aviation Administration.
Eventually, the passengers were able to either take a bus to Minneapolis or a flight later in the day. United Airlines is responsible for moving the plane. In Green Bay, Kristen Allen, Action 2 News. That's right. There are still some police here this morning as well. You can see behind me there is a police squad car here with lights on blocking this street. And if you take a look further down the street, you can see there is another squad car with police tape up. And there has been a decent amount of activity here this morning as well. We've seen some other police cars come in and out of this area. Now, we do know that one of the 4 people shot and killed was a police officer with the D.C. Everest Metropolitan Police Department, but we don't know where in this incident he was killed. Police say this started as a domestic incident, and police aren't saying much about the shooter, his motives, or his victims, but we do expect to learn more today during a press conference. Yesterday afternoon, officers were called to a bank in Rothschild just before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then to a law office in Schofield soon after, and finally to this apartment building in Weston. There were reports of shots being fired at all 3 of those locations. A standoff at the apartment building between the suspect and police then lasted for several hours before the suspect was taken into custody. During that time, Everest area schools were placed on lockdown as a precaution, and streets around the shooting locations were closed off. They have since been reopened, but some families in the area were displaced and are now being helped by the Red Cross. When speaking to the media, law officials were visibly upset, saying they're not the only ones affected by this tragedy.
And I would like to basically send all my thoughts and ask everybody listening, thoughts and prayers to all the victims and their families. Keep them in your prayers and be with our officers.
These events affect more than just the people involved. They really affect entire communities. And with that, and because of that, there's more than 100 law enforcement officers in the field right now from all the agencies the chief mentioned, working hard on several different crime scenes.
The Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation is now handling this, and as we said, we do expect to learn more about this today during a press conference, but so far a time for that has not been released. We will be there, though, and be bringing you the latest developments as soon as they unfold. Reporting live in Weston, Kristen Allen, Action 2 News.